All right, we got Culture Crusader here with It Was Too Violent for Toonami. Now, I don't know what this one's about. We're gonna see how interesting this is, but I'm excited to get into this. This is the first video I've watched from Cultured Crusader, so we're gonna have to see how good this is. Now, I am excited to see what Toonami got scared of.
Measurement impossibility. Yeah, you got it. Before streaming was a thing, finding anime to watch in the West was a little tricky. If you happen to know
What you did was you went down to the local flea market. You would find a guy named Jerome. You would beat the living poop out of him. And it wasn't like his name wasn't like Jerome, and he was like he was just like a weird furry guy. I'm sure you went to really racist when I said Jerome, and I want to nix you, buddy. I want to nix you to get away from that idea of who Jerome is. No. This guy looked like Cousin It. He had fleas bouncing off of him, and what you did was you beat him to a living pulp, and as you beat him, anime like box sets would shoot out of his like ears, eyes, and asshole, and it just created such an interesting dynamic, and I honestly miss those days.
guy who had a basement full of strange stuff, then you were in luck. But that was a risky play. The safer option was to just watch Toonami, Dragon Ball Z, Outlaw Star, The Big O, and Gundam Wing. These are just a few of the titles on Toonami. But as for the title we're talking about today, you didn't see this one on Toonami, because this one had to be aired on Adult Swim. You see, the mixed marriage of violence and sex was a bit too much for Toonami. Just look at these bugs, right? I mean, come on. Do you see what I see?
Dude, look at that fucking... Dude, it's clitoris power, bro. That thing's got a clitoris mouth, bro. I want to fuck it.
Shepherd boy, it's not very subtle, but it sure is bloody. This is Blue Gender, a mature mecha series from the guy who made two mecha anime I still haven't watched yet. Blue Gender is a cult classic dark and gory story, a true tale of monsters and men. One that hasn't been in the limelight for a while, although it still comes up from time to time, and chances are, if you like anime from the 90s and early 2000s, then you've at least heard of it. But the question is...
I haven't heard of it, but the question I need to ask, if they're a Blue Gender, which bathroom do they use? This is like a huge... I'm gonna let this be like a soft talking point, and I want you guys to go down into the comments below, and I want you guys to argue about the political nuances of that joke I just made, and I want you to decide if it is as offensive as I think you're gonna say it is. I don't really give a shit, but I want you guys to argue about the gender norms of blue.
Is it good? Is it good? Is it good? Yeah, it's kind of a tough one. Blue Gender is divided up into two parts. The first half follows Yuji, a crazy kid from the late 2000s who was diagnosed with a bad haircut and an even worse case of super AIDS. He volunteered to be put
Dude, super AIDS! Somebody else talks about super AIDS. I thought I was the only one bringing awareness to super AIDS. It was honestly a lot of weight that's just been lifted off my shoulders. I was starting to get like a lot of hiccups because of the heartburn I was getting constantly, because I felt like I was the only person that was bringing awareness to this huge cause that's inflicting so many in the world today. Like people that you can think of, like, oh, well, Nick Fuentes, he's got super AIDS. Hassan Piker, super AIDS. Your fucking cousin who won't quit shitting on your neighbor's lawn, and your neighbor keeps calling you to complain about it. Super AIDS.
Cryostasis until the eggheads came up with a cure, and he's woken up 2 decades later. Except there is no cure, the world has basically ended, and he's probably gonna die. Either from the strange alien bug-like monsters called Blue, which are constantly evolving whenever the plot needs them to, and have already wiped out most of humanity, or he'll be taken out by the rest of humanity. Or maybe from his own dumb decision-making.
What the hell?
A squad from a satellite out in space has been tasked with retrieving sleepers, the designation for anyone who was put into cryo before the fall. But the only surviving one they find is Yuji, which sucks. And he's woke too, which really sucks, because he was only supposed to wake up once they got back to base. But regardless, their mission is to still bring him back to their space station alive and unspoiled. However, things quickly go off script and most of them die, except for the cold-hearted mecha pilot, Marlene Angel. She escorts Yuji through the wasteland.
Dude, of course the blonde babe is the one that's surviving, bro. It's such an anime trope. If a bitch got got blonde hair, bro, she's surviving, dude, because she's probably got the nicest smelling vagina. So her vagina smells so much better than all the other vaginas of different hair colors. I didn't make the rules. Anime made the rules, guys. Her vagina smells like flowers. Everybody else's smells like rancid tuna that has been like shit on by obese men. That's my job in life, is just to make that smell so that I can create that reference. I'm the obese man. But you know, when you see the blonde hair, she's probably going to survive.
That was once our world to the closest operational shuttle site somewhere in Russia. And along the way, they fight more blue, lose more guys, and grow closer to one another. That's the first half. The second,
bro, they fucking slappy tap. She takes her roast beef ham sandwich, bro, or her roast beef sandwich, and just wraps it around his cottage cheese dog, and they just slappy together, bro, and make weird like future Mad Max babies.
second half mostly takes place on Second Earth, the name of the space station where a small portion of people who were lucky enough not to get stranded on Earth when the blue first broke out spend their days training and sciencing and banging to their heart's content. Also,
let's go, dude. Base, and I paused it right as I'm getting a VAD shot.
Status of main character switches from Yuji to Marlene, but just for a little bit. They do go back to Earth eventually, and it's back to the bug killing, but there are some major personality changes with the two main leads. Marlene goes from a mission-focused ice queen to a love-struck woman intent on fixing Yuji, who went from an emotional spaz prone to preaching to something of a psychopath.
If you get between me and the blue, then you're going to get shot at! Nothing, not even you, will stand in the way of the success of this operation!
There's also a whole bunch of new characters that get introduced because...
Oh, you were in the camera, so I used my finger to scratch your face with cuteness. That was my goal, dude. I was like, oh my god, she's looking so sexually titillating. I want to just come on her glasses. I got the eye roll, boys. I got the eye roll. That means one of two things. She found me hilarious and wants to bang me till I collapse, completely lose consciousness. Or tonight she's just gonna go to sleep next to me. I mean, I win either way because I married my best friend. But let's be honest, dude. I want the banging till loss of consciousness.
All the old ones die.
I'm like, baby, put a belt around my neck. Put a belt around my neck, dude. David Carradine.
And I'd name off some of the new ones, but by the time I list off all the important ones, they'd no longer be with us. But before we go any further, this video is sponsored by Sakurako. Sakurako is a monthly every soccer going on. I like it.
We're skipping all of this junk, bro. If you want, go find this dude and get one of his creator codes so you can Sakurako up your butt.
Kai's last hope depends upon his survival.
So you better hold on tight.
Blue Gender. Coming up next. Adult Swim.
I would tell you that the first half of Blue Gender is the stronger half, although that's mostly because I like Fallout 3 and its aesthetic. Dilapidated cities, crawling with unholy abominations, fighting against a faction that uses big guns and metal suits. Love that stuff. But then you get to the second half.
Okay, by the way, when they talk about fighting, I thought that the Brotherhood of Steel was the good guys. I played through Fallout 3 just fully supporting the Brotherhood of Steel, dude. I walked with Liberty Prime. I brought capitalism back to those dirty fucking savages. I was like, oh, you stupid Fallout douchebags, I'm bringing you capitalism, baby. And I was like super happy, and then everybody else told me that they were the bad guys, and I was super confused. I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about here? I thought they were the goodies.
And it's all about the people and political conspiracies and scientific revelations, and most of it ranges from okay to okay. Spoiler, not that you should really care because it's kind of stupid, but you find out the reason that the last leaders of humanity wanted Yuji and the other sleepers is because of his...
Oh, okay, so they were considered the good guys in Fallout 3. Look at that, dude. That's how I was. The House and the NCR are arguably both the good in Fallout New Vegas. So they're the good guys, and then Fallout, they're the morally grayer version in Fallout New Vegas. So look at that. So maybe you guys are the dirty fucking idiots who thought that Fallout or that Brotherhood of Steel weren't the good guys in Fallout 3.
super AIDS. This disease actually enhances his fighting capabilities under the right circumstances. And so he and the others with this disease are gonna pilot special mechs and save the world. But now here's the twist. It is the world itself that's trying to kill all humans, or at least enough humans to make things go back to the Bronze Age. You see, the Earth infected humanity with the super AIDS to start a chain reaction that would lead to everything that happens in the show. Blue Gender might just be one of the most explicit examples of a story that critiques man's disposition towards destruction and his inability to be a true steward of the earth as prescribed by the Good Book, thanks to the Industrial Revolution and its consequences. And when I say explicit, I do mean explicit. Now, it is undeniable that
Bro, I want to watch this. This looks like gnarly and cool and awesome and based, and I need this in my life.
Gender has something to say about something. In this case, it wants to focus on humanity, both on a macro and a micro scale. What are we as a species doing to our planet? And what are we as a people doing to each other and even ourselves? Those are the kinds of questions asked by this series, and this exploration of a humanity that has lost its humanity in its fight to save humanity is an interesting topic to tackle, but the way Blue Gender chooses to tackle it is a bit gratuitous.
You mean the best way? You're wrong. This is awesome.
It's not inherently a problem to focus on odd sexual scenes where characters barely react as if to say, what's happening is meaningless. Because in the context of a world as grim as the one in Blue Gender, this makes sense. People drop dead every day, and half the time there's no fanfare or glorious send-off. It just happens, and whoever survives simply moves on. Despite the illusion of intimate acts, there are no real relationships here. Just people chasing what little pleasure they can find before their time is up. But now, do we really need to see the orgy room? I feel like that was a bit
Jeez,
much.
bro, there's an orgy room? There's a bukkake. It's like the orgy room, and then there's the bukkake cleanup showers. Like, and you always know if you have a bukkake cleanup shower room, you've gone too far.
There's a track in the OST that's literally just called sex. Also, and this is going to sound very hypocritical coming from me, but there is too much rampant death in this show. Normally, I'm all for that kind of thing. But this time, I don't know, I think it's to the detriment of the story and the characters. You see, Blue Gender has some very interesting ideas that it wants to explore, but it also has a kill quota that it cannot compromise on. So most of the characters will have little to no characterization because they're really only there to be executed.
That's an issue. When you're constantly introducing new characters and you're like, oh, this dude's just gonna fucking die in 5 minutes, so why should I care about him? It makes it hard for the person who's trying to like enjoy this material. You just have no attachments. You have zero attachments, and you just kind of care about the main character.
And the story is required to proceed in a way that allows for said execution. So eventually things just start to come across as misanthropic, like the show is offing people just for the sake of it. And when you combine this with the ending of the show, it almost seems like Blue Gender is saying that the only way to keep us human beings from ruining our planet is,
we're just gonna kill them.
The Sam Hyde clip, bro. If you haven't seen that, there was a TED Talk that Sam Hyde did that's just absolutely unhinged and might be one of the most peak comedy things I've ever seen in my life.
a lot about the killing of characters in this show, but I really should talk about at least one of those characters, Yuji.
By the way, this guy gets a like and a subscribe, and I'm definitely going to watch more of his shit because this is hilarious.
There's something you ought to know about this guy. He's very annoying. This is why I'd actually recommend watching the English dub, solely because I don't think he sounds as annoying there.
Marlene? Tell me, what kind of place is Second Earth?
Are you worried about it?
No, I've just been wondering what will happen to me after we get there.
But regardless of which version you watch, there is not a single episode where Yuji isn't complaining about something. Actually, that's a lie. There are a few episodes where he doesn't, because he's not there.
The best way to get this guy to stop being a little pussy ass bitch is just to like not have him in the show. It's just like, please stop talking. Well, please, why are you here? Why do you exist? Just shut up, you stupid little bitch boy. And then he's not in the episode. You're like, God, I didn't realize this shit was so peak.
Constantly disobeying everyone and crying about how it's not fair that he's woken up into a world that sucks and that his saviors aren't freaking saving everyone. The show also uses him to comment on manhood. You want to know why blue gender is called blue gender? Because it's about the blue gender. It also comments on the role of
Dude,
women.
I told you, bro. I told you, dog. I knew that it was going to be talking about gender norms and which bathroom to use. Well, I was fucking ahead of the curve. You guys were like, oh, he's some sort of phobic. When you were the phobic one, you fucking didn't understand, you little pussy-ass fucking viewers. By the way, like and subscribe. I am your daddy.
To some degree, but it's much more critical of a young man's desire to go full warrior step lord and crush all his enemies, drive them before himself, hear the lamentation of their women, that sort of thing. But it's all linked to the super aids, which are actually called the B cells in the show, and sort of operate as a stand-in for testosterone. It makes you really strong but kind of aggressive. And considering all of the other things that are already attached to the B cell stuff, this is an odd way to tackle the topic. I think it would have been better to just have Yuji's perspective and ideals challenged and changed over the course of the series, through interactions with people of varying philosophies. Maybe it's a big cliche, but it might have worked in this case to have Marlene and Yuji basically switch their positions by the end, which is already kind of what
Yeah, that is kind of like a much better way to do it other than show him go fucking like absolute schizo mode. He just becomes like super angry incel fucking school pow guy, you know what I mean? And then like that's not cool. But then to have him like go, like level back out, it's like, well, we had him go a little crazy there for a minute, but no worries, we smoothed it out in the end. Do you want to see his balls? We'll go back to the sex room.
happens in the show, but in practice, it's more like Marlene can't go 3 sentences without mentioning Yuji. And Yuji just gets emo for a while, and while he does change into a guy who's more mature and capable than the loser we were introduced to, he's still plenty emotional and annoying in the end. But is he so bad that he ruins the show like he ruins his underwear in episode 1? I don't think so. And it would seem the people of yesteryear didn't think so either. The Blue Gender didn't break any records, but it did do well enough for AIC to make a compilation film just a few years after it ended. Although it's a film that wasn't enjoyed as much by fans of the show, and it's not hard to see why. This movie, Blue Gender the Warrior, is essentially a retelling of the series with a few reanimated scenes, a handful of small narrative changes, and a completely original ending. As for the new animation, it's pretty solid. I thought the TV series overall looked pretty good, especially for a late 90s show. Sure, your average episode looked pretty average, but when the show needed to look its best, it did look nice. But it did have a fair amount of fights that didn't look all that great. And this movie fixes that, while still keeping to the style of the show so that nothing feels out of place. As for some of the changes from the TV show, a lot of it is small stuff like Yuji having a different haircut at the start, or a few minor characters being absent. But there are a handful of arcs that are either fast-tracked or skipped over for the sake of runtime. This movie is only 1 hour and 40 minutes. That's roughly 50 minutes to cover each half of the show. Except that the movie doesn't actually cover much of the TV show's second half. The last third was completely removed, and the stuff that was included was streamlined even more so than in the first half. Most of the major characters were cut altogether, and the movie ends with a failed New York City operation where, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be there. But yeah, basically a bunch of people die, Yuji has an awakening, and the Blue decide to leave him and Marlene alone, and that's pretty much how it ends. It's not a very good ending. And it's not a very good movie either. It does have its moments, and I actually do like many of the changes from the TV series. Like how there's more tension between Yuji and Marlene, and at one point she...
Bro, he pulled the Sean Connery. Sometimes you just gotta smack a bitch.
calls out his backseat moralizing.
By the way, I disavow that type of action. I just think it's funny that Sean Connery's like, sometimes the women, they just be talking and talking. They always want to get the last word in. And when they get the last word in, sometimes they don't like the last word. And you gotta give them a little smack. Now, you can't use a closed fist. You gotta use an open hand.
I do think that certain sections of the story, like when they assault the base to get to the shuttle, flow better without the added internal conflict between the soldiers because some crazy dude goes and does something crazy. But if you haven't seen the TV show, then every scene will feel disjointed or like things are just happening now. And if you have seen the TV show, then I don't really see a reason to watch this one. It's not like the Escaflowne film, which is a radically different take on the Escaflowne TV show, both visually and narratively. It's basically just a
Dude, I don't even know what Escaflowne is, but I know I like some Escaflowne tubes.
Up and slimmed down version of a show that already had some pacing problems, with just a few changes that don't really change much in the grand scheme of things. But now there is one other version of Blue Gender out there, the manga. It came out right before the TV show ended, and it's an even more truncated version of the story than the movie. It only covers the first half of the series, and it tends to combine characters and set pieces to save time. I don't really think
So
it's
wait, this was a manga after it was a show? Odd direction to take things.
checking out, but it's not that hard to track down if you're curious. And now we return to the question I asked at the start of the video. Is Blue Gender good? In terms of atmosphere and setting, I think it's great. The soundtrack in particular does a phenomenal job at conveying despair and mystery. That one track with the World at War type haunting vocals gets me going every time. Love that song. But as for the story and the characters and the way the show presents its ideas and themes, not the biggest fan, to be honest with you. I feel like I've done a decent job explaining why, but to summarize it with just a single sentence, Blue Gender is an anime with an interesting setup that trips over its characters' corpses and falls on its face at the finish line. But if you're just in the mood for something moody and graphic, then I'd say it's still worth watching. Maybe you disagree with me? I know that Blue Gender still has a pretty dedicated cult following, and I'm sure they will be none too happy with my backhanded compliments.
Oh, dude, I fucking love when I can shit on. Blue Gender looks mid as fuck. It does look like it has cool action, but the story looks mid as fuck. And I'm gonna like die on that hill. I haven't even seen it. I'm gonna say that just so I can piss people off in the comments. I always think it's funny when like fanboys show up in my comments to just spurg out. It just makes my day, and I like just getting them to wound up so they comment over and over again, and I get engagement. It's I don't know. It just makes me a little hard. My pants get a little tight because of my massive erection. Or not massive. It's only a couple inches hard, but it's still there and it still does its job.
I just don't quite see what they're seeing in this one. I'd rather watch Starship Troopers again, to be honest with you. But go right ahead and post some paragraphs in the comments. I may not be swayed, but someone else might be. Anyway, until next time, Ave Maria, Days Fault, and a big thank you to all the cultured.
Dude, there we go. Let's see. I'm not gonna watch anything else he's made today. But I definitely want to watch something else this dude has done, because I think that was incredible what I just watched. I was again, dude, my nipples are so hard right now that I can't just like encompass how great I feel because of this. This is supposed to be the next Akira. Okay, I've seen Akira, so this will actually be one I can add context to. I think Akira is a little bit overrated. That's something.
75 years.
This is something I will I'll actually die on a little bit. Is that a little bit overrated? I don't want to be too much of a douchebag. But come on, dude. Come on. It's the second half is really, really good. The first half is really slow, and I think everybody remembers the second half and how crazy the second half of Akira gets, but forgets like the journey to that. But that's all I got on that one, guys. That was a really fun video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Like and subscribe.